Hello, everybody. Happy Philosophy Friday. What do you think? Do you think at all? Do you believe in thinking? Turns out the first guy to ever think, his name was Socrates. There's a guy named Socrates, but he never wrote down anything that he thought. But he was the first guy to ever think about things. Besides God, who was not a man at the time, even though but Socrates came before Jesus came as a man in AD, 0 AD or whatever. Socrates came before him. So, and then he talked to his buddy, a guy named Plato, and Plato wrote down everything that Socrates talked about. So I was looking in my what's it called, library or whatever, where they have all the books, and I found, well, it was actually not the actual library, it was just my parents' library. I found this book by this guy named Plato. Why is his name Plato instead of Frank? Why is his name not Pluto? I don't know. But this book is actually a whole bunch of different books that he wrote, 5 dialogues, and they're different kinds of things that he wrote. I guess he just thought about different things. He just likes to think. So the intro of this book is written. That's the only part that I've read so far. So I'll see how much I get through. But the intro was like 27 pages long. I didn't actually read the whole thing. I kind of skimmed it. By Louis R. Loomis. He wrote the intro. Credit to him or her. I'm not really sure. It's spelled Louise. I think that's the man's name, isn't it? Okay. So, just kind of the history, where it's at. Plato lived and Socrates lived in Athens, which was the democracy trying to fight Sparta. And they didn't like Sparta because, well, I don't know. Sparta was like the land, and Athens was in the sea. And Athens was the democracy where everybody was free. Apparently, even though they killed Socrates for thinking about stuff. But also, can you blame them? I mean, we don't really like free thinking. That kind of makes people too independent, and then they don't depend on the government. So if you want control, but if you're a democracy, I don't really understand it. The Athens were a democracy, but the Sparta wasn't. Sparta was like the aristocracy or whatever. So, I don't know, they were at odds or something, and then Socrates was in the Athens, and he was trying to teach people to just think about stuff. He taught Plato how to do it, and then the Athens did not like that, so they killed him. And you know what's funny? Socrates just accepted his fate. He was like, yep, this is justice. This is what they want. They want me dead. So, it's like, have some self-respect. I don't know. Or it's like, maybe like believe in what you're believing in instead of just being like, well, yeah, they want to kill me, so he just let them kill him. But then Plato came along and said, I don't know why they didn't kill Plato, I guess. That's an interesting question. But Plato came along and started an academy, and he started writing down like a whole bunch of books. I don't know, like 30 or something. How do you have time to write all that? And also, how do you get to a point where you influence people? How do you become a philosopher? That's what I want to know. To the point where there was this guy, the Dionysius, in 367 BC, like the ruler of Athens at the time. He died, and then the next one came, and Plato was like, oh, I can influence him. This is what this intro is talking about. Plato's like, I could influence him. Turns out he couldn't, because the guy, it says he was Um, was easily excited to jealousy and suspicion. So that means he wasn't really willing to listen to Plato. But also, dude, how did you get to a point where you could talk to the Dionysius guy? How did you get to a point where you could talk to the ruler of the city? Just because this guy thinks about stuff. Like he's wise. But why do people think Plato's wise? Why did they decide that he's the wise one? And if everyone agrees that he's wise to where he can influence the rulers, why not just make him ruler? And that was another point that Plato said. The only way to get to what do you call it? Utopia? A good city, a good government, is when the rulers learn how to think philosophically, or when the philosophers, whatever you call them, can be rulers. So I think Plato is basically saying just make me king and then everything will be better. Because he was the smartest guy. But I mean, he was smart. Everybody reads his stuff. So eventually I'm going to start. I read the intro, which was 27 pages long. And then I'm going to read the first thing called, you know what the first book is called? Let me show you. It's called Apology. Imagine writing a book and calling it Apology. This is my apology. To what? Who are you apologizing to? I guess we'll probably find out when we read it. Oh, and it's Socrates. He's writing about what Socrates... So maybe this is one of the first things that he wrote. But he's like, I'm going to write a big philosophical book, and it's called Apology. My apologies. Maybe he's apologizing. No, you guys killed Socrates. Why are you apologizing to them? Or maybe he's not. I don't know what apology means in this. But I'm gonna get to it. So that was the background of Plato and Socrates. So when we're talking about Philosophy Friday, we start with Socrates. And then we go to Plato and the next one and the next one. But I think they were the first ones, pretty much. Maybe there was some before him. I don't know. But I'm gonna start with this one. So we'll get into it on Philosophy Fridays. Maybe. Unless I decide to quit. Because I'm a quitter. Or if it's too deep for me. Because I don't know. I don't know if my brain can handle all of that. But we'll see. So, thanks for joining me. And remember, if you're a philosopher, you should be the dictator. Because you can make everything better.